Hello everyone, welcome to another session on introducing literature. And we have already started with our module 2 discussions, and this is like a continuation of that. I have discussed with you almost like 5 terms, that is what we have discussed so far. And in the first part of module 2, you can see that I have already discussed with you the concept of point of view. The people who have in fact created the textbook, they are trying to introduce the concept called point of view in the first 3 pages, you can say. Okay, so what is the relevance, what is the significance of this particular concept called point of view? To look for point of view in a textbook, what is the need for that? That is what we can see in the first few pages, like first 3 pages, you can say. Okay, they have in fact started discussing the concept called point of view with a passage, a very small excerpt from Adichie. Adichie means Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. Is a Nigerian. She's a Nigerian writer, and it's like a small part from the danger of a single story. Okay. And it talks about in that she talks about an 8-year-old domestic help by name Fide, okay, who lived with her in her house. So she describes that particular incident, and that is given as you can say a kind of introduction to the concept called point of view. Okay, so we'll just quickly go through it. I want all of you to read it. All the other passages are pretty very lengthy, okay, compared to the module 3. You can say they are like very lengthy, so all the other passages you have to read by yourself, and I'll just summarize. I'll not go very deep into each and every passage like what I did in the previous module with the previous module. So this is like in Adichie's mother's account, Fide's family figured only as being poor. So she is familiar with this particular version of the story, or this particular version of this domestic help Fide, that they are like very poor. Okay, so that particular idea got fixed into the mind of whom? Mind of Adichie. Okay, so her mother used to tell her that, or her mother used to tell her and her siblings that their domestic help was just 8-year-old domestic help, and their family is like very poor. Okay, on one of her visits to the boy's family, Adichie, when she visited the family of the boy, okay, domestic help Fide, Adichie is surprised to see a beautifully patterned basket made of dyed raffina that his brother has made. So all the images that was that were like fixed in the mind of Adichie were like, they are like very poor, and they can never come up with something that is beautiful. They are like in such a pathetic situation. That is what that has got fixed into the mind of Adichie with the explanation or with the descriptions from her mother. Okay. But on one of her visits to this domestic help boy's house, she has seen that there is a beautiful basket that is made out there. That such a beautiful basket, and that too out of dyed raffina, is in fact absent in her own house, but it is present in that boy's house. So it's a kind of something beautiful is there, and something luxurious is there. It's not just about the material, and which is not that in fact not that needed for us, but still it actually talks us about there is a patterning that is there in our mind. Okay, and that is almost like fixed. We feel like when somebody is poor, there is nothing good in their house. Okay, and when somebody is ugly, everything belong to that particular person is more or less like ugly. That is, there are certain ideologies, there are certain fixations in our mind. That is what she is trying to tell us. To quote her, I was startled. It never occurred to me that anybody in his family could actually make something. That was the feeling I had, and that is why that they have put a boy of such a small age, just 8-year-old boy, put to work. Okay, So everybody is like very poor, and they are like more or less like useless people, or they cannot do a single thing, and that is why they have made this boy a domestic help. So that was the feeling I had. That is what Adishi says. And all I heard about about them was how poor they were, so that it had become impossible for me to see them as anything else but poor. I cannot think about them as if they can be productive. I cannot think in that line. Okay, their poverty was my single story to them. Underline that. Their poverty was my single story to them. So we have certain ID notions like that. We fix on to one particular concept. When somebody says that that particular person is not that good, we attach so many things that are already fixed in our mind with regard to if it is a woman or if it is a man, depends on that. We and somebody else makes a comment that that person is not good, we identify or we attach n number of attributes, n number of bad qualities to that particular person. So more or less it's a kind of a creation. So here she says that it was impossible for her to think that he is good for something, or his family is good for something, because that idea of being poor was a single story that was in fact in his mind. So single story. So this is what we are going to discuss in this particular module, in this particular chapter, you can say. We are trying to break this particular concept called single stories that we have attached with single stories that we have attached with our religion, with our culture, with our language, with our tradition, you can say. And also you can say that in our understanding of people, of being bad, of being good, we have constructed, you can say, many single stories around us. Okay, so we are trying to unlock, or you can say we are trying to unveil this particular concept. Okay, so next is like point of view. I have already discussed with you this particular concept in my previous video. Point of view is the angle, the voice, and the perspective from which a writer tells the story. Okay, writer has got a perspective. Okay, and the perspective of writer has got a politics in it. Okay, he or she wants to say so many things through that particular stand that he is taking or she is taking. Okay, which is the perspective? It can be like first person point of view, and the next page it is like you can see third person point of view, and also third person limited or third person omniscient point of view. Okay, all these things we will try look into it one by one. Okay, so before we move on to the next, I want you to read the passage on page number 53. So till then, take care and God bless.